everyone, John Henry here, slingshotfutures.com, and welcome to the Market Mindset, where we take a look at the psychology behind the moves today so we can better understand tomorrow. And today, we have the gold futures on the docket. Now, gold, as well as pretty much every other US-based market, is going to have a little bit of a rocky ride later today with all of the FOMC statements and all of that news coming out. So the day ends up being get in early, get out early, and keep the money in the bank, because it can get really nasty the closer and closer you get to FOMC and all of those different news announcements. Now, we did have some slight news at 8:30, and that caused this big bull candle that we have right there. Now, notice one big thing about this, aside from the fact that the candle is big, right? It completely engulfed the first two candles of the day. It's almost like starting the day over again, right? The first two candles of the day, a lot of times they can give you some really good information. In this case, this third one really kind of shut any of that information down and basically started the day again. So with the buyers very intent on buying into the move, especially considering that was a news-based drive, we want to see what the follow-through is. If they bought the news, are they going to keep buying, right? Do they continue keeping that bullish pressure on the table? The sellers tried to take it back. All it did was form a doji, and it turned back into bullishness. So yeah, the buyers are showing that they're willing to continue buying on the pullbacks. They got a little bit of a breakout. The sellers couldn't even trigger underneath the short. That's a big, big clue, because now we're starting to see that the buyers are not only so defensive that they're holding this area, but now the sellers can't even muster up enough to get it going. The buyers try to get it going right there. They only trigger just above it and fade back down. Now, in the room, we were talking about how this area underneath, this little shelf that formed right there, is what you would call a sucker stop, right? It's a place that a lot of traders will have bought on that run higher. Maybe they bought here, maybe they bought here, and they don't want to see it break that low. The problem is there's no real sentiment for the sellers. The sellers are showing an immense amount of weakness, so that fear of loss is impeding the ability to trade it correctly. And chances are, if it hits that low, there are going to be a lot of funds and big money traders who know that that's what's happening, and they're going to buy into the move, and that's what took place, right? It whipped out all of the sucker stops and ran right back up to the highs. And look at the reaction, right? So anybody who took this long right here, they got tapped out only to see it jump up 40 ticks without them. Welcome to the markets, right? Now, with that big run higher, this big push, that's very exhaustive, especially given the context, because now the buyers that got whipped out on that low, they're going to get forced to having to chase the move. And that's a really bad situation to be in. And a lot of times when that occurs, you're going to see some counter trend movement. Buyers who bought in down here, bought in here, they've been buying in here, and they held and didn't get whipped out on the weak stop. They're going to take profit on this kind of candle. We're pushing up into a major area of sell inventory, lots of volume coming in at the top. All of those buyers are going to likely liquidate, maybe not all of the position, but a good chunk of it, right? 80, 90% of the position is going to get liquidated there. So what does that mean? Well, it means that you're likely going to be able to take an aggressive counter trend scalp just for a quick move, because we understand the fact that although the bullish trend is in place, the buyers are probably taking some profit. Now, for me personally, that's a little bit aggressive along with the following sell here, because on the daily, the 60, it's a really big uptrend going on right now in the short term. So I don't really want to go against that personally, but those counter trend aggressive scalps were there and they worked pretty nicely. Now, that quick little bounce there, knowing that sellers are going to be selling here for a quick scalp, allows you to be a buyer where they're taking profit. Because what's happening, right? We have the sellers coming in, they're looking for a quick scalp in a very specific area. And if all of the sellers are going to be getting out at that area, it makes a lot of sense to be a buyer there too, because all of the sellers are turning into buyers. You're expecting a bounce there. So a nice little bullish bounce right there to continue it. And they tried, but they couldn't get it going. They couldn't trigger above the bull side. And that was the big clue that what followed next was going to happen. The sellers are now looking for major objectives to the downside. And if they can get them, they're probably going to be bouncing there. But no longer is there going to be likely bouncing before that, right? So he pushed down into the seller's 2-to-1 objective, another nice little bounce. and they push back down again. Now at this point, we're starting to form the bottom of a wedge. We're getting a base of a wedge. We're pushing into that earlier sucker trap area. Lots of support down here to be buying into, and that offered up a beautiful final buy on the move to finish the run back off towards the top. And now we're just kind of getting stuck at the prior high of day, going into a range, a little bit of a wedge. So this is where it starts getting a little more difficult. Again, be careful going to the afternoon session, but that's going to do it for today. Beautiful combination of price action along with market psychology, and just knowing what's going on behind the scenes gave you a ton of trading opportunities today to really follow through on. So that's going to do it. If you have any questions about it, you can always feel free to send me an email, jbrink@slingshotfutures.com. Until tomorrow, have a good one.